For some people, being here right now would be a dream come true. The opportunity to make your own show in a TV studio, put on the makeup, be a star, lights, camera, action. But dreams don't always come true, or things turn out differently than we hope. Dreams can be like bubbles. They're beautiful for a while, then something happens to them, like for this little girl.
I wish it wouldn't hurt anymore. I wish. I wish wishing would help. I wish it wouldn't have happened. I wish it would have happened to someone else. I wish time would go faster. I wish right now I was a movie star with no problems. Lots of people would like me. They'd wish they were me. I wish.
God doesn't blow bubbles. The world He made may seem like a bubble, fragile, out of control, ready to burst. True, it will end someday, but the God who made it controls its future. He holds the world He made in His hands. And He cares about each one of our little worlds, too.
He's got the whole wide world in His hands. He's got the whole wide world in His hands. He's got the whole wide world in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands. He's got you and me, sister, in His hands. He's got you and me, brother, in His hands. He's got you and me, sister, in His hands. He's got the whole world in His hands.
We'll be back after this. Some of our wishes are like bubbles. Just when we think they'll come true, they burst in our faces. Often that's because we have unrealistic dreams. We are living in an age where we can read, see, hear, and feel stories at any time that are unreal. Monster stories, Superman, rock videos. After a while, we get to think that we can do the same things. And it's an unreal world.
Bubbles, bubbles, bubbles. Have you noticed? They're everywhere. Bubblegum and soda pop. When a kettle boils, the sound you hear is made by bubbles bursting. Bread has bubbles in it. If it didn't, it'd be very hard and you wouldn't want to eat it. And there's a spittle bug, which likes to hide itself under a frothy pile of bubbles to protect itself from birds and also to keep itself from drying out. Bubbles are in your lungs. If they weren't, your lungs would collapse and you wouldn't be able to breathe. Bubbles are all around us. They're a part of us whether we realize it or not. A soap bubble is a really thin shell of fluid covering air. The fluid is made up of fatty acid molecules and water molecules. The bubble's very thin shell is made up of 3 layers. 1 layer of soap, 1 layer of water, and another layer of soap. Have you ever wondered how the colors of soap bubbles get there? Well, as light rays go through these 3 layers, they're bent. Each layer bounces back light in its own way. For example, the bottom layer bounces back red light, and the middle layer bounces back violet light. This makes the bubble look colored to us. You may wonder how a soap bubble keeps its shape. Well, it's helped by something called surface tension, and here's how it works. Watch what happens when I break the film inside of this thread. The film pulls the thread into a perfect circle because of surface tension. The surface of a bubble is always trying to pull itself together to cover as little space as possible. The reason the bubble is a sphere or a ball is that it's the smallest area that a bubble can cover. At the same time, pressure builds up on the inside of a sphere and pushes outwards on the skin. As long as the pressure on the inside is equal to the pressure on the outside, the bubble will not break, and you can have a lot of fun with it. Another thing about a bubble is that its skin keeps getting thinner and thinner. The liquid begins to drain down and form a drop at the bottom. When the skin gets too thin, the bubble bursts. That's one thing that's sad about soap bubbles. Although some of them have been kept for as long as 3 months, they all burst sooner or later. Bubbles are weakened by impurities in the liquid, dust particles, shocks, and vibrations. Water molecules in the bubble evaporate, and the skin gets thinner and thinner. And that's why, no matter how nice the bubbles are that you make, or how hard you try to keep them, eventually they must burst.
All of us have quiet moments where we stop and think about who we are and what we're doing with our lives. At least we should do this from time to time. Wouldn't it be interesting if mirrors could talk back at us and let us know how they view the faces we show them in our private times?
Hi. As a mirror, I have privileged information. People do things in front of me they'd never think of doing in the presence of anyone else. You could say that I get to see their real images. Sometimes it makes me sad to see people trying so hard to change themselves into something they're not, but would desperately like to be. Little girl, you're going to have to learn to live with those pimples. I know you hate having them with the guys around and all, but you can't wish them away. Accept them and look after them the best you can. Oh, it feels nice to have a cute guy like you looking at me so intensely. I see a lot of hope in your eyes. Would you take a bit of advice from me? It's nice to look sharp on the outside, but make sure the character on the inside of you is every bit as good. Mom, don't worry so much about aging. Gray can give you that trusted, mature look. And besides, you don't even have to have hair to be appreciated. It's It's okay to cry. I know it smudges your makeup and people might notice, but I've seen lots of men and women cry. It makes them feel better. And your jealousy can hurt you more than that other person. Why don't you just be yourself? Go with what you've got and build on it. In my lifetime, I've reflected on a lot of people. I've seen them fuss with themselves, always hoping and wishing, often for something they'll never be. And I've come to this conclusion. Change what you need to, accept what you can't change, and work hardest on building your character.
We'll be back after this. Dreaming about things that could be can be a lot of fun. Even God must have done some dreaming ahead of time when He created all the neat things in the world. He made some creatures that He put into the ocean that we hardly ever see, and they're beautiful.
One of the common jellyfish in the east coast of Canada, in the Maritime area, is the lion's mane jellyfish. This is a purple-colored jellyfish with reddish tentacles. The tentacles can sting a person in the exposed areas, but not a terrible sting like some of the more poisonous jellyfish. This jellyfish can grow up to probably a couple of feet in diameter with tentacles up to 30, 40 feet long. But the most of them that you see close to shore are the smaller variety. They normally drift with the current. They do not swim with any definite motion. They just drift and swim with the tide. They probably adjust their height in the water column close to the surface. The jellyfish shown here is moon jellyfish. Inside it is a little animal called a hyperid, a little dark object. It actually rides inside on the ovaries and gradually eats the jellyfish, which is its host, which carries it around. The jellyfish is actually only about 3 to 4 inches in diameter. It's always adventure, and sometimes what are you going to see when you go under the water, what a diver might come across. And in this case, we came across an oceanic jellyfish, a purple striped jellyfish, which is not very often found in shallow waters, but it's a deep ocean going jellyfish. They grow very large in size. The trailing ovaries sometimes reach a length of 15 to 20 feet. In this case, it was only 2 or 3 feet. Purple striped jellyfish can sting a person, but it's not a very harmful sting. It could be painful to the more sensitive areas of the body, such as the lips around the mouth of the face, or the top sides of your hands, which would be exposed to the animal. The Garibaldi sometimes feed on these ovaries. One comes up and takes a bite, probably immune to the stinging part of the jellyfish.
Throughout the history of the world, people have dreamed about things they'd like to have and do. It's written about in the Bible in the story of the Tower of Babel, where some people dared to imagine that they could outdo God Himself.
People have always had dreams and fantasies. There's a story in the Bible about a group of people who decided to show other people how important they were by doing something that had never been done before. Let's make a tall tower in our city, they said. It'll be the tallest tower that anyone has ever built. Let's make it so that it reaches right up into the clouds. People around began to talk about the tower that was so wonderful it would reach into heaven. The builders were certainly making a name for themselves. They looked as though they were greater than God himself. But God was watching. He had heard their proud plans, and he didn't like them. One day he made something very strange happen. Some men were working and talking together when suddenly they couldn't understand each other. "What are you saying?" they asked each other. Each person thought the other one was going crazy. There was more and more confusion and finally quarreling. God had confused their language. Instead of one language for the people, there were now many. The only way the problem could be solved was by having the people who could understand each other form groups and move away from the others. One language group thought the other group couldn't talk right. So, the tower was named the Tower of Babel and was never finished. It never did reach up to heaven. There was no more bragging either because people could not understand what their neighbors were saying. Jesus once told a story about a rich man who was really very poor. This man had large fields of grain. He had never had so much grain in his life. Now, he should have stopped what he was doing from time to time and thanked God for the sunshine and the rain that had helped his crops grow. But he didn't because he was very proud of himself. He said, "I've become a great man. I'll tear down my barns that have become too small and build big ones. I'll store the grain and sell it at higher prices. Then I'll be very rich." He never gave God a thought or a word of thanks. "You fool," God said to the man sadly. "Tonight you will have to give your soul away and lose everything, for you will die. All your riches will go to someone else." And so it was. The man thought he was making beautiful plans, but without God in his life, he lost everything.
Often we dream when we're empty inside, wishing we could fill that vacuum. When we're hungry, we dream about food. When we're lonely, we yearn for companionship. When we're broke, we imagine what we'd do with the money if we won a lottery. But it's kind of sad, when you think about it, that none of these things will last forever. As a matter of fact, some will only last for a little while and then disappear forever. But God is always there. The gifts He gives last forever, like a meaningful life here on earth, and a home someday in heaven. We can come to Him at any time and ask Him for these gifts by accepting His Son, Jesus.
Don't you wish you could close your eyes and change the world? Make a wish and have your dreams come true. Do you know in truth what you are hoping for? Will there be enough to quench your thirst for something more? Waiting, watching, craving for a better day, when your troubles will melt away.
We'll be back after this. Some things don't burst like a bubble or fade away, like the kind things we do for others, the true things we think about. God never stops loving us. His Son Jesus is preparing a home that will last forever in heaven for all of His children. A future where we're held in God's hand is the most secure future we can ever have. We'd like to hear from you at the Third Story. When you write, we'll send you a free survival kit, something to help you get to know God better. It includes a poster with Bible verses on it, a Bible study book with a book of the Bible, a book of cartoons and stories, and a helpful book of Bible verses for the whole family. Write for your free kit to The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. That's The Third Story, Box 2, Station F, Winnipeg, Manitoba. We'll be waiting to hear from you.
I'm going back to the Master to face the wrong I've done. How can there be such forgiving grace, restored and complete? I will fall at His feet with new courage to live in His way. The farmer waits for the harvest. The watchman waits for the dawn. I'll learn to wait on His guidance and trust Him when it seems I can't go on. I'm going back to the Master to face the wrong I've done. How can there be such forgiving grace, restored and complete? I will fall at His feet with new courage to live in His way. I'm going back to the Master to face the wrong I've done. How can there be such forgiving grace, restored